So Christians say God is perfectly moral, but the Bible describes him doing what we would call evil. Bears maul 42 kids for mocking a prophet, pregnant women are ripped open, an angel kills every firstborn son in Egypt. If murder is wrong, is God moral? Here's the common defense. God's ways are higher than our ways. That sounds humble until you realize it's a blank check. If good means whatever God does, morality then collapses into might makes right. So let's do what believers say they want. Follow the evidence. 3 Bible episodes, clear moral standards. Then we're going to ask, does God pass his own test? So here's the baseline. The 10 Commandments say, you shall not murder. And what is murder? The unlawful killing of innocents. Most Christians also accept basic moral principles: proportionality, non-combatant immunity, and individual responsibility. Don't kill kids for insults. Don't target civilians. Don't punish children for someone else's actions. Agreed? Cool, let's start the test. So case number 1, 2 Kings 2, 23 and 24, the 42 children mauled. Story 1, Elisha walks to Bethel. A group of youths mock him. Go up, you bald head. Elisha curses them in the name of Yahweh. Immediately, 2 she-bears come out and maul 42 of them. So the details matter. These aren't armed assailants. They're youths mocking a prophet. The curse is in the Lord's name. The narrative frames the attack as a divine judgment, not a random chance. And 42 victims. That's not self-defense, that's slaughter. Here's the moral analysis. Proportionality. Verbal mockery does not equal death penalty. Innocence. They weren't harming anyone. And agency. The text ties the mauling to a curse, invoking God, signaling divine approval. And the Christians are going to reply with, they were dangerous young men, not kids. Mocking God is serious. It warns against disrespecting authority. Here's the rebuttal for that. Even if they're teens or young adults, the response is grossly disproportionate. In any modern moral system, and in any courtroom, unleashing lethal force on taunters is evil. If your ethics flip only when the perpetrator is divine, you're not defending morality, you're defending power. If a human leader did this, we'd call him a monster. So why is your God exempt? Here's case number 2, the pregnant women ripped open. There's 3 places this happens: Hosea 13:16, 2 Kings 8:12, and Amos 1:13. Story 2. The Bible records, and in prophetic judgment or war oracle contexts, endorses as punishment atrocities like ripping open pregnant women. So here's the 3 verses. Hosea 13:16. Infants dashed, pregnant women ripped open on the judgment in Samaria. 2 Kings 8:12. Forecast of Hazel's brutality. He will dash their little ones and rip open their pregnant women. And Amos 1:13. Judgment against people who ripped open pregnant women in Gilead. Let's separate 2 claims. 1, the Bible describes atrocities. And 2, often it frames them as part of divine judgment, or as the future God foresees and allows as punishment. Either way, we're faced with a moral dilemma. God as judge, using or permitting as judgment the targeting of unborn children. So here's the moral analysis. Non-combatant immunity. That is completely violated. Proportionality. Atrocities against the most vulnerable people. And the intent. Civilians and unborn are targets. They're not collateral, they're targets. If a modern general ordered this in the military, we'd try him for war crimes. Calling it judgment doesn't launder the evil. It intensifies it because it says the highest moral authority wanted it to be this way. So here's a lot of replies I get for it. It's hyperbole. It's descriptive, not prescriptive. They were punished for idolatry and sin. Here's the rebuttal. Even if hyperbolic, the moral message is clear. The text normalizes atrocities as divine punishment. And then for descriptive, not prescriptive, fails when the narrator treats it as God's justice. And they sinned is not a license to butcher non-combatants. Justice targets the guilty, not unborn babies. Case number 3, Exodus 11 and 12. the angel of death. Story 3, Passover. God sends the destroyer at midnight. Every Egyptian firstborn dies, from the firstborn of Pharaoh to the firstborn of prisoners, unless there's blood on the door. So let's look at the facts. The victims include babies and children. The crime they're punished for, being firstborn Egyptians. The decision maker was Pharaoh, but the punishment hits families who didn't choose the policy. And repeatedly, Exodus says God hardens Pharaoh's heart, which escalates the conflict. So the moral analysis is collective punishment of innocence is immoral by any sane standard. If you condemn a regime that kills children to pressure a ruler, you must condemn it here too. Otherwise, you've admitted morality changes when your deity does the killing. So here's the replies that I give for that. Nobody's truly innocent. There's original sin. God owns life, so he can take it. And it's necessary for a greater good. If no one is innocent, every atrocity becomes excusable. If ownership justifies killing, morality vanishes. Property rights over persons isn't ethic, it's tyranny. And greater good arguments that justify killing children are exactly the kind of logic that we reject when humans use them. Good ends do not sanctify evil means. If they do, you've surrendered morality. The higher ways escape hatch and divine command theory. This is from Isaiah 55 and 8-9 for the higher ways escape hatch that Christians like to use. Christians quote, "My ways are higher than your ways," to defend this. But that's not a moral argument, it's a conversation ender. Here's the problem. If good equals whatever God does, then good has no content. If God drowns babies, it's good because God did it. That's might makes right. If good has real content, protecting innocence, proportionality, justice, then we can compare God's actions to those standards. On these three cases, he fails. Do we call it good because God does it, or does God do it because it's good? If the former, morality is arbitrary. If the latter, morality exists outside of God, and we can measure his actions by it. Apply the same standard to everyone. Kings, prophets, and gods. Killing mockers with bears is not justice. Tearing unborn children from the womb is not justice. Killing firstborn children for a ruler's choices is not justice. If any human ordered it, we'd call it evil. Calling it divine doesn't cleanse it, it condemns it. If morality matters, it has to be consistent. Start with evidence, end with truth. If you're ready to question sacred stories that excuse cruelty, subscribe and share this with someone who thinks higher ways means no rules.